Time's 11:04 a.m. We're back on record.
Did you want to recite the agreement?
Sure. What was our agreement?
During the break, counsel for Mr. Olson and counsel for the witness, and the witness agreed that the witness would provide certain personal information to counsel for Tom Olson on the understanding that the information would not be disseminated beyond the extent necessary to have an investigation of a background investigation of the witness conducted in the event counsel for Olson decided to do that. In addition, counsel for Olson agreed to refrain from sharing that information with Mr. Olson. Have I stated the entirety of our agreement?
Yes.
Okay. So with regard to the address that you provided during the break, is that address located within the Sterling Green community?
Yes, it is.
And then, have you heard of an entity called Sterling Green Community Improvement Association?
Yes.
Is that a homeowners association organized under the laws of the state of Texas?
Yes.
And it's a nonprofit corporation, is that correct?
Yes.
How long have you resided at your current address?
About 25 years.
And do any persons reside with you there at present?
No.
Have any persons resided with you at that address during the past 5 years?
No.
Are you currently employed?
No.
When was the last time you were employed?
December 31st, 2018.
And who was your employer at that time?
IRS. Oh, I'm sorry. IRS.
And in what capacity were you employed by the IRS? What was your job title?
Exam tech.
How long were you an exam tech with the IRS?
Over 25 years.
What are the job duties of an exam tech?
You work in the field. You schedule out information from the taxpayers' tax forms.
I'm afraid I'm not following you. Can you provide a little bit more of an explanation?
Yes, we were a large, what they call a large case audit team, and we would set up shop at the taxpayer's office, and we would audit their tax returns.
And when you worked at the office of the taxpayer, were these taxpayers corporate entities or individuals?
They were, corporate.
Did you do audits of nonprofit corporations?
No.
Do you know if there's an entity or section within the Internal Revenue Service that audits nonprofit corporations?
No, I don't.
Did the IRS provide you with training in performing audits?
Yes.
Can you describe that?
Describe it how?
What did the training consist of?
It was like database training, access, it was basically software.
What did you do before you worked for the IRS?
I worked for a company called Caterpillar Mustang.
What did you do for Caterpillar Mustang?
I was the payroll person.
How long did you do that?
About 6 years.
Where was Caterpillar Mustang located?
It was located off of I-10 on Washington Avenue.
What is your highest level of education?
12th grade.
Have you received any training in finance?
No,
Have you received any training in accounting?
no.
Have you yourself ever performed an audit completely by yourself?
No.
With regard to this large case audit team that you referenced earlier, I'm trying to get a better idea of what your role was within that team.
Okay, the agents would identify an area of the tax return that was going to be audited. And then they would give me the job to go into the tax return and pull out figures from like different schedules.
Did you do anything other than pull figures from schedules?
Yes, there was always clerical type work that would go along with the schedules.
Anything else?
That's basically about it.
Were you an IRS agent?
No.
Did you have the task of determining whether a taxpayer's return was in compliance with the law?
No.
Did you, in your job with the IRS, did you determine penalties that taxpayers who had not complied with the law would pay?
No.
And how did your employment with the IRS come to an end?
Okay, retired.
Are you a CPA?
No.
Are you a lawyer?
No.
Have you received any training in homeowner association management?
No.
And I'm correct that you've never performed an audit yourself?
Yes.
You have.
No, you were. wait,
Oh, I'm sorry. It
Yes.
was a bad question. I thank you for pointing it out. Am I correct that you have never performed an audit yourself?
Yes, you are.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Do you consider yourself more knowledgeable? Strike that. Do you consider yourself as a person who has expertise regarding the U.S. income tax code?
What type of expertise? Could you I'm sorry, could you clarify that?
How about expertise regarding the deduction of business expenses?
No, I'm not an expert, no.
Did you ever have the task while you were with the IRS of determining whether a taxpayer had properly documented its deductions for business expenses?
No.
What is the address of Sterling Green Community Improvement Association?
I don't know it off the top of my head.
But it's located within the Sterling Green community, correct?
Yes, yes. I know it's on South Silver Green, but I don't know the actual address offhand.
And it's in the Houston area.
Yes, it is.
Would it be accurate to say that it is north of I-10, about 30 miles east of Houston? Of downtown Houston?
Yes.
How long has Sterling Green Community Improvement Association been in existence?
It's been in existence for a long time. I don't know the exact date.
And how long have you lived within the community?
It's been approximately 25 years.
And has the Sterling Green Community Improvement Association been in existence as long as you have lived there?
Yes.
What is the purpose of Sterling Green Community Improvement Association?
Could you clarify that?
What does it do?
The association.
Yes.
Okay. The association is the homeowners. It's the people that live in the association.
And what does the association do?
The association itself doesn't do anything that I'm aware of.
Does it collect assessments?
Yes.
And what does it do with the proceeds of those assessments?
Okay, employees are paid, bills are paid.
Okay. Does it have a board of directors?
Yes.
Have you ever served on the board of directors?
Yes, I have.
And during what years did you serve on the board of directors
I was
of Sterling Green?
Okay. I was appointed to the board of directors, I think around 2010.
And are you on the board at present?
No.
When did you last serve on the board?
That would be to 2018.
And the board of directors has 5 director positions?
Yes.
And was that true the entire time you were on the board?
Yes.
So in other words, there are places for 5 directors.
Yes.
And is it correct to say that at least during the time you were on the board, that some of the directors held officer positions such as secretary?
Okay, can you clarify?
Does Sterling Green Community Improvement Association, does it have a president?
Yes.
Is that president also one of the 5 directors on the board of directors?
Yes.
Does it also have a treasurer?
Yes.
And is the treasurer also one of the directors on the board of directors?
Yes.
Does it have a secretary that is on the board of directors?
Yes.
And while you were on the board of directors, would it be accurate to say that on on 3 or 4 occasions you were reelected to the board?
Yes.
So you served on the board of directors for approximately 8 years, is that right?
Yes.
What are the duties of a member of a board of directors of a homeowners improvement association or homeowners association in Texas?
Okay. Okay, can you state that again?
What are the duties of a director, of a person who is a member of a board of directors of a homeowners association in Texas?
Okay, each officer on the board has different duties.
I understand that, where if the director also happens to be a secretary or a treasurer or a president, then they have to carry out the duties of those offices.
Right.
But my question goes to persons who are just serving on the board as a director without holding any officer position. What are their duties?
Oh, okay. I think their duties is to make sure that that the homeowner rights are adhered to, that their information is kept, that it's not given out to someone who shouldn't have that information. And I guess basically it's just to look out for the rights of the homeowners.
Is supervision of the employees of a homeowners association also among the duties of a person who is on a board of directors of a homeowners association?
Okay, can you clarify what you mean by supervise?
I'd really rather keep it as general as possible. I'm just trying to figure out if, let me put it this way. Putting aside the duties of individual directors, would you agree that the board of directors of a homeowners association as a whole, the entire board, has a duty to oversee the employees of the association?
I still don't understand exactly what you mean, because when you said oversee.
Well, let me ask it this way then. Sterling Green, during the entire time you were on the board, had employees, is that correct?
Yes.
And the board of directors delegated the task of managing the finances of Sterling Green to the employees of the association, is that correct?
No.
Okay. When people make payments for assessments to the association, are those payments given to the board members?
No.
How were those payments tendered to the association?
They were sent in the mail, and then the office, the clerical employees in the office. As far as I know now, I didn't work in the office, so I can't tell you exactly.
Okay, so while you lived there, did Sterling Green have about 2,200 properties?
I don't know exactly how many.
Okay. Well, I'm not asking for exactly how many. I'm trying to find out in general how many properties there are. Even an approximation is fine. Do you know if, when you lived there, when you were on the board of directors of this association for 8 years, was the total number of homes in the association around 2,200?
Well, I know that it was over 2,000.
Okay. And what are the annual assessments at Sterling Green?
The, dollar figure,
Yes.
yes, it's $270.
And that was true while you were on the board?
Yes.
So that assessment has to be paid every January, correct?
Yes.
So without me doing the math, 2,000 times 270, that's a lot of money.
Yes, it is.
And so that money is being paid to a, I think you said clerical employees?
Objection form.
The checks are being tendered to an office, is that right?
Yes.
And does that office, do the people working in that office work for the association?
Yes.
And does the board, while you were on it, did the board do anything at all to supervise that office, for example, to make sure that they weren't pocketing the money that people were paying in assessments?
Could you rephrase
All I'm
that?
really trying to figure out is what is the relationship between the employees of the association and the board of directors? Do they work for the board? Are they hired and fired by the board?
No, they don't work for the board.
Who do they work for?
They work for the association.
Does the board have any role at all in supervising them?
Supervising? I guess I really don't understand what you mean by supervising the people that work in the office.
Well, who does supervise the employees in the office?
There was an office manager.
And who was the office manager while you were on the board of directors?
That was Dorothy MALVEAUX.
Okay. So my next question would be, who supervised Dorothy MALVEAUX?
Again, I don't understand what you mean by supervise.
Was there anyone in the, when you worked for the IRS, was there an organizational, anything like an organizational chart showing who people worked for?
Yes.
Who did who did the office manager work for?
There was no organizational chart for the association.
Objection, that's not my question. Who paid her salary?
The association.
The association paid her salary. Did she have to get authority to do things from the board?
Yes.
Did the board on occasion hold votes on Ms. MALVEAUX's request for authority to do certain things?
Yes.
So before we move on, This is kind of an important point, so I have to make sure I understand your testimony. Well, let me ask you this. Does the board have the power, the board at Sterling Green, while you were on it, did the board at Sterling Green have the power to fire and hire office managers such as Ms. MALVEAUX?
I have no idea.
Do you have an understanding whether, in general, while you were on the board, did you ever take any courses in homeowners association management?
No,
Had you had any experience in homeowner association management before you agreed to serve on the board?
no.
Who asked you to serve on the board?
It was the board members that was in place at that time, and they asked me to take over a position for one of the people that was stepping down.
What are the names of the board members who asked you to serve?
I'm not sure. I don't remember which ones at the time asked me.
Are you friends with Ms. MALVEAUX?
Could you explain friend?
I'm up to a certain point, I'll provide explanations, but it seems to me that the term friend is self-explanatory to all of us and to members of the jury. It's a simple question. Were you a
Objection
friend
for.
of Ms. MALVEAUX while you were on the board?
No,
Are you a friend of hers at present?
no,
Have you ever been a friend of Ms. MALVEAUX?
no.
Did the board of directors at Sterling Green periodically receive reports from the manager regarding association finances?
Yes,
Did it periodically receive recommendations from the manager regarding the hiring and termination of employees?
yes,
Did it on occasion authorize the hiring or termination of employees?
I don't remember that, no.
Okay. Are you familiar with strike that, during the time you served on the board, did Sterling Green have bylaws?
Yes,
Were you familiar with the bylaws?
some, yes.
Which ones?
I can't specify which ones.
By the way, while you were on the board, did MALVEAUX hire and fire employees?
They were hired through a personnel agency.
Did they have to be approved by Ms. MALVEAUX?
Approved, I don't know if they were approved.
While you were on the board, did Ms. MALVEAUX fire employees?
I'm not sure, no.
While you were on the board of directors, were you familiar with the Articles of Incorporation of Sterling Green?
No,
While you were on the board of directors of Sterling Green, were you familiar with the declarations of Sterling Green?
I'm not sure,
Why do you say you're not sure?
because, well, you just asked me about the articles and then the excuse me, declarations. I can't picture in my head which one is what.
Okay. In your view, does a member of a board of directors of a homeowners association have a duty to familiarize themselves with the articles of incorporation, the bylaws, and the declarations of the homeowners association?
Objection 4.
Okay. Can you restate the first part of that?
Well, I'll split them up into 3. Does a member of a board of directors of a homeowners association have a duty to understand the articles of incorporation of the homeowners association?
Objection 4.
I'm not sure.
Would the same be true with regard to the bylaws and declarations?
Yes,
Objection 4.
I'm not sure.
And is that true with both bylaws and declarations?
Objection
Yes.
4.
All right, I think I'm on to Exhibit 2. I'm going to ask you to review Deposition Exhibit 2. Ms. Bass, I'm glad you're reading it, but I just wanted to let you know, I'm not going to ask you in detail about it or conduct a memory quiz. I'm just going to ask you about one provision about it. And I'm also going to ask you to confirm that those are among the Sterling Green declarations. But you can continue reading it. And
Okay,
then,
no, I'm sorry, I thought you
That's okay.
wanted me to read it. So
That's
I mean-
okay.
Oh, okay,
That's my fault. I should have been more clear.
okay.
Can you tell me, are those among the declarations for Sterling Green?
Yes,
Okay. And so, and by the way, for the balance of the deposition, when I say Sterling Green, I'm referring to Sterling Green Community Improvement Association, where you served on the board of directors. Is that okay?
Okay, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So my question is, if you'll hand me the document, I'll get to the page that I want to ask you about. I'm going to ask you to read the first sentence aloud of Article 5, Sterling Green Community Improvement Association, Section 1, Membership and Voting Rights. That first sentence that begins with the word every.
Okay. Every owner of a lot which is subject to assessment shall have a member of the association membership shall be appurtenant to any, not to be separated from ownership of any lot which is subject to assessment.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I'm going to have marked as Exhibit 3 what I believe are the bylaws. Please take a look at Exhibit 3. You don't have to read it through. Can you tell me, is Exhibit 3 the bylaws of Sterling Green?
Yes, it is.
Okay. And those were the bylaws that were in effect while you were on the board?
Yes.
Bear with me for just a second.
Okay.
Where is that? Each owner of a lot at Sterling Green is a member of Sterling Green, correct?
Yes.
And a person is entitled to one vote in the association for each lot owned, is that correct?
Yes.
Do you know what the term quorum means?
Yes.
What is a quorum?
Um, I'm sorry, I just drew a blank. It's the number of people that you would need to hold a vote.
And would you agree with me that the bylaws and the Articles of Incorporation set quorum requirements both for meetings of the members of Sterling Green and for meetings of the Board of Directors of Sterling Green?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so I'm going to ask you to read a provision from this document. But first, this is Exhibit 3, which is the bylaws. Would you agree that Article 3 is entitled Meeting of Members?
Yes.
Okay, and then turning to, by the way, the members, the owners of the lots, they elect the directors of Sterling Green, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And they elect them at meetings of members.
Yes.
I'm going to ask you to read Article 3, Section 4, quorum. The first sentence following that begins with the words, "the presence."
Oh, okay. The presence at the meeting of members entitled to cast or of proxies entitled to cast 1/10 of the votes of each class of membership shall constitute a quorum for any action except as otherwise provided in the Articles of Incorporation, the Declaration, or these bylaws.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Would you agree to that this quorum requirement that you just read applies to meetings of the members in which they're going to elect persons to the board of directors?
Yes.
Would you agree that, strike that. Do you know if there were many people, or anyone, while you were on the board of directors at Sterling Green? Strike that, let me back up for a second. While you were on the board of directors at Sterling Green, did you attend member meetings?
Yes.
Did you attend, over 8 years, did you attend a lot of member meetings?
Yes.
And you observed voting at member meetings on many occasions.
Yes.
My question is, were there, since a person is entitled to one vote for each property at Sterling Green that person owns, were there occasions at these meetings when members were voting, when individuals casted multiple votes because they own multiple properties?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay. So my next question is, that's, do you recall just a few minutes ago when I had you read that quorum, that sentence in the quorum paragraph in the bylaws, where the quorum said that the bylaws, that paragraph set the quorum requirement at 1/10 of the members?
Objection
Yes.
4.
And there are, based on the idea, based upon the fact that you said earlier that there are at least 2,000 homes at Sterling Green, would you agree that generally speaking, given the 10% requirement, that you would have needed at a minimum about 200 people at a member meeting in order for a quorum to exist?
Objection
Because
4.
200 is 2% of 10% of 20.
Objection.
2,000, I should say.
Objection 4.
Based on that statement and what you just said, yes, the 200 would have been.
The quorum.
Yes.
When were you last elected to the board?
I'm assuming, I'm not for sure, I guess it was in 2016.
Is it possible it was 2017?
It could have been because it was every two years.
Can we go off the record for a second?
Time is 11:54 a.m. We're off record.